With the end of summer quickly approaching, quite a number of the tasks and projects that I had put on the back burner during the rest of the year have been deemed by me, well, time to be completed and finished up once and for all. And that has been what I've been primarily occupied with for the past 3 to 4 weeks now. I don't remember when it was exactly that I had last recorded a new video. In fact, a number of the videos that I did actually upload to my channel during this summer were ones which were recorded probably more than a month or two ago. And that was again just as a result of my becoming overwhelmed and preoccupied with a number of other things that had needed my attention. But thankfully I have just a little bit of time today to make something of an update video, combined with a few other different things that I have wanted to talk about but really obviously have not felt compelled enough to upload in their own videos. You're actually looking at two different computers right now, one of which a desktop of course, and the other a laptop. This is a Lenovo Thinkpad T61, and while it may share a number of design characteristics with the Thinkpad T61, which was reviewed in a video of mine not more than probably a month ago, there is a difference, and you may have picked up on it already, and that being the screen size. This is a 16:10 model T61. The one in that video I was just talking about was a 4:3 aspect ratio model, and there were actually a number of differences between the two. Now the ThinkPad T61, of which there was a video on my channel, now a 16:10 display might be the most notable change between this and the 4:3 aspect ratio model, but there were also a number of other subtler but pretty extensive differences when you compare the two side by side, and probably the biggest is that of the graphics. This model just relies upon Intel's standard mobile graphics hardware, and it is plenty capable for most applications, but it does struggle with others. And it was really quite a nice thing to be able to rely upon the NVIDIA 140M mobile graphics hardware that were present in the 4:3 model, especially for those situations where I feel like playing a 720p 60 video for whatever reason, and various other video, especially for video editing. Video editing, especially when it comes to video editing, having a video card that can manage more horsepower than that which the integrated graphics are capable of is a major bonus. But what you lose, you gain. This being a prime example, 4:3 model did not come with a 4-pin FireWire connection, whereas this does. You also even get an SD card slot, which will prove very useful for those times when a quick video recorded on a flash memory camcorder such as this one are the best choice, and when you just want to edit them quickly, you don't have to make a large fuss trying to hunt down a memory card reader, which invariably walks off to some far, nearly inaccessible location of a basement or room. I went ahead and saw it fit to at least try Windows 10 by taking advantage of the then soon to pass Windows 10 upgrade cutoff. Now the first thing you get, of course, after you've done installing it is this lock screen, which doesn't serve any useful purpose aside from just showing you the time and the current date. Some people might like that. I really don't care for it. I'd rather just be taken directly to the logon screen. Now the anniversary update of Windows 10 has changed a few things that I had gotten familiar with, because from what I could understand, when I had gone ahead and performed the upgrade through the Windows 10 Upgrade Assistant that became available on Windows 7, being that it was prior to July 29th, it went ahead and downloaded a version of Windows preceding the so-called Windows 10 Anniversary Update. So after a few days of becoming acquainted with that build of Windows 10, I was persuaded to upgrade to the newest post-anniversary update version by way of the Windows 10 Upgrade Assistant. Now just a few I can rattle off the top of my head would be the new location of the notification area. It has now been moved away from the regular system tray icons to the right side of the clock, so it has its own separate space here. Another thing that I noticed, after upgrading to Windows 10, for whatever reason, there was a glitch present that was preventing most every application of Windows from working as you would expect. and it actually led to a number of lockups. I don't know if that had something to do with any of the drivers that were present from the Windows 7 installation. It could very well be a possibility, but I had to go ahead and end up going to PC settings, which should be over here, and if we go down here to where it's cut off, there's an option that becomes available, that was available in Windows 8, 8.1, and 10, and that is to reset this PC. And as I understand it, that performs a reinstallation of Windows, but varying from if you were to perform an installation yourself, it gives you the option whether or not you'd like to maintain your existing files and folders or have everything along those lines deleted. And that seems to have fixed a number of the problems, but a lot of the custom settings that I had gone to such great lengths to configure to my liking have since been reset. And I noticed right off the bat that despite disabling or not even setting up Cortana in my initial installation options, it somehow has reset itself now. And the only reason it says search Windows is that I've installed Spybot Anti-Beacon, as advised by a number of online forum postings and videos alike, where if you have any concerns about your personal information or what may be slipping through the cracks to Microsoft, you can just easily prevent a lot of that telemetry from taking place by installing the program. So if I fire this up here, and of course it wants to get user account control authorization. This is another aspect of Windows that has changed between the pre and post anniversary updates. You can see that the user account control window has changed in its appearance, and it looks less like a holdover from Windows Vista or 7, and now looks it fits in with the rest of Windows 10. But I'll go ahead and run this now, and you'll see that the majority of the telemetry was blocked. And I say was because I had gone ahead and disabled that, and I just restarted the computer, and now it's not showing as that being disabled. That's interesting. Very easy to have this slip past when you're initially installing Windows just by clicking Express Installation. And with that installed, it seems that a number of the various tracking functionalities of Windows 10 have since been disabled. And of course, a surefire way to prevent any and all tracking technology from taking place in Windows 10, but that's of no result of my own doing. In fact, it seems that this version of Windows does not want to become acquainted with, nor agree with, my wireless hardware. And it's an Intel 4965 AG and N card. It's what shipped with this machine. It's what shipped with my 4x3 T61, and on versions of XP, Vista 7, and 8, I had absolutely no problems whatsoever with it. I can connect to a wireless network as many times as I please, and as long as it's the first time you're connecting to that network, you won't have any problems, until of course you put the machine into either sleep or hibernate. And then when resuming from that, you'll reach an icon similar to this. It won't have a red X next to it. It'll just tell you that there's either no connection, or if there is, it's limited or no connectivity. And it seems the only solution for that is to head over to your device manager and disable and re-enable the wireless hardware. Subsequent upgrades of the wireless dart drivers do not seem to be fixing the situation, but I haven't exhaustively tested it, nor can I really readily confirm that it's a problem apparent in Windows, but probably more so just a lack of any actually compatible drivers with Windows 10 for that wireless hardware. This task switcher seems to me to be very similar to the one which was included with Windows Vista. If I open a number of programs here, and then, come on, I'm trying to open you, and then use the task switcher, it looks very similar to what you would get in Windows Vista. Of course, you can't have that nice scrolling effect as you use your mouse wheel to scroll through them, but it allows you at a glance to see what it is running, and you even get the option of creating a new virtual desktop, which seems to be an oft-touted feature with Windows 10. Now, of course, with my having to reset this PC, it also deleted a number of the programs that were installed, and that is actually that was something that I would like to point out to anyone. If you go ahead and have a bunch of programs that you had left over from Windows 7 or 8, and then you upgraded to Windows 10, if you perform a reset, it uninstalls all of those programs and the ones which were installed during Windows 10. Of course, the only program it seems to have maintained is the Windows 10 Upgrade Assistant. And it wants to open this in Edge, but I don't care for that. I'll just use Internet Explorer. There were various numbers. Oh yes, we can see right here. And now we can get a nice... Come on, I don't want you to open an MSN page. You get a look at all of the various programs that were installed to reset the computer. And that was something I noticed upon initial installation and use of Windows 10. The on-screen display of this computer ceased to function and was replaced with Microsoft's. But I actually did like the Lenovo on-screen display, and so it's very easy now to see exactly what programs were uninstalled to facilitate the reset process. And essentially every single program that was installed was removed. That is, of course, including all of the ThinkVantage related utilities that do go a long way in increasing the usability and functionality of your Lenovo system, especially if you'd like to take advantage of various features of it, such as the blue ThinkVantage button. The mute button no longer works. The only way that you can possibly mute the audio is just by holding the volume decrease button until you don't get any audio any longer. So I can't use the mute button, the ThinkVantage button doesn't work. And despite configuring Windows 10 initially to my liking and disabling a large amount of the default Windows 10 settings such as Cortana and the Windows 10 applications that are set to replace your pre-existing applications, holdovers if you will, from Windows 7 or 8, it seems not to have cared very much for keeping those settings intact after resetting the PC, because Cortana came back. The only reason why it says search Windows is because I've enabled Spybot Anti-Beacon to disable that functionality. Despite Microsoft's best efforts, I just cannot get acquainted with nor familiar with the way in which they wish for you to accomplish things through this new start menu. Now the pre-anniversary updates live tiles ended right here, but with the post-anniversary update you have an even larger start menu taking up more space on your desktop to show you your live tiles when the start menu is brought up and called upon. And there probably is a way to disable this, or at least adjust the size, but it doesn't seem to be working for me right now as I'm clicking and it isn't doing anything to resize it. So if I were going to keep Windows 10, I would most definitely install Classic Shell on here. So I just don't like the way that they want you to do things now. The way that the start menu was configured in the pre-anniversary update, in my opinion, was a bit neater than and more aesthetically pleasing than this. You didn't just have a clumsy alphabetized list of all these programs. You had one that showed you your most used, and it was separated in such a fashion that I actually cared for. A very little difference, and I'm sure very few people share my opinions in that regard. Suffice it to say that I will not be keeping Windows 10 on this machine. I'm sure it's a very stable operating system. I'm sure many people are going to get along just fine with it. But right now, as it presently stands, and it's been outlined in several videos of people that I loosely follow on YouTube, it seems my opinions are shared by numerous others. I had disabled OneDrive, as well as uninstalled it from this machine in its initial installation of Windows 10. Doesn't seem to have maintained that setting either. It's reinstalled the OneDrive now, and it's telling me to sign in, which I won't be doing. So I've gone ahead and completed the Windows 10 upgrade probably an hour or two ago, and I've just finally gotten around to seeing what it's all about. Now, this isn't my first foray with Windows 10. It seems like this is an extension of the Bing website. Anyone who's ever visited the Bing search engine, I've noticed that it consists of the various clickable links on the homepage image, and that seems to be what's changed with this anniversary update, because with the previous Windows 10 installation on my ThinkPad, which predated the anniversary update, these clickable links were not displayed. Being that this is a lock page, I don't really want to see advertisements for Microsoft Edge and pictures, but if you click that, you can sign in very easily and gain access to the desktop. Now, I don't know what went wrong, if this is how Windows 10's new anniversary update is supposed to install, but again, the one on my ThinkPad changed the wallpaper to the Windows 10 logo. This one just left my existing wallpaper alone, which may or may not be a welcome change, but it's interesting that they just left my bland blue background. And something else that looks to be broken, that wasn't broken in the pre-anniversary update. Notice something awry next to, in between, the volume and notification area indicator? The time. I don't know what Microsoft did to change that, but you can't even read it now on the screen. It's such a dark color of black that unless you were to change the color of this taskbar, you don't even know what time it is. I've gone ahead and disabled all the telemetry that comes standard with Windows 10, such as applications using my advertising ID to show me targeted advertisements. Wi-Fi Sense, I have absolutely no need or use in the world for sharing my Wi-Fi password or accessing other people's Wi-Fi passwords using Wi-Fi Sense. It's not something I'm interested in doing. Some other aspects, I've also gone ahead and just temporarily disabled OneDrive. I don't use OneDrive in Cortana. So now Cortana's logo, or at least the previous icon of Cortana, which was a circle, has now changed over to this, a magnifying glass, and when clicking that, it allows you to just search Windows. One thing that's changed is no longer when you click enter or your mouse button to swipe away this lock screen, the only thing that swipes up is the time, and the text in the background picture is preserved. The pre-anniversary update would swipe away the picture and the text and leave you with just a solid colored background logon screen where you would enter in your password. Now, something else that's interesting to note is that despite it showing that there is audio enabled, since upgrading to Windows 10, my audio has broken, so to speak. It no longer functions. Bit of an irksome reality with Windows 10's disjointed control panel and PC settings is the necessary evil of dueling settings. So if I go over here and go up here to default programs, this will take us to the traditional control panel, and we'll go to set your default programs, and it'll load just a moment. While that's working, I'll check out device manager and see if anything looks inappropriate or misconfigured. And it does say that our hardware is working, but it just says high definition audio device. Something tells me that it's replaced the specific driver I went ahead and installed prior to upgrading with a generic Windows driver, which needless to say is not functioning. If we head over here now back to default programs and go to a program such as Windows Photo Viewer, which I know had problems in the pre-anniversary update. It has 0 out of its 11 defaults, and so if we go over to our pictures, and it doesn't have it, I guess it deleted the sample pictures that were on here. Come on. Since the sample images are no longer accessible, I believe they've been removed. If I click this, it wants to open in Photos, even though I explicitly unchecked the Photos application when installing Windows 10. It gives you an option where if you want to use the new native Windows 10 applications to replace your existing applications, you can do so. If not, it mentions that unchecking them will leave your existing application settings intact, but that apparently does not seem to be the case, because this, against my wishes and settings, when installing Windows, is opening in the Photos application, which I'm not interested in using. So I'll click that out and go over to our default programs, where I'll set this program as default, and you see it says has 2 out of its 11 defaults, even though you clearly saw me click set this program as default for all file types. And it's actually only configured to open TIFF and WTP images, not JPEGs, PNGs, or any of the other common file formats used for images. So if I click this again, it still continues to open in Photos. So what you need to do then, and this seems to be another aspect that's broken, I can't read the text of each window that's open unless I hover over it, and even then it's very faint. And I don't know why it should have yet left Windows Photo Viewer as the default. That's how I set it up when installing, but apparently it didn't, so I need to click choose a default. I want to use Windows Photo Viewer. I'd hate to see what would happen if your utility or program didn't show up in this list. There's no way for you to browse. You can only look for an application in the store. So apparently, if you're on a classic theme before upgrading to Windows 10, it attempts to preserve those settings, and that's what was causing those problems of being unable to read what was actually written on all of these taskbar icons and even the time. So thankfully I was able to fix that. So I'll close this out. One of the first things I changed in Windows 10 on my laptop was the Show Color on Start taskbar and Action Center, because if we go over to the original Start menu, you can see it's just this boring black color. I'll change that over to a color that just gives it a bit more of an interesting look. You can even change the application mode to light or dark, similar to the high contrast settings in former versions, or even in this version of Windows. Now here's the culprit of those clickable links on the lock screen. Get fun facts, tips, and tricks on your lock screen. No, I don't want that. I'll disable that. New user account control pop-up. Old user account control pop-up. You pick your favorite. PC settings has also made a slight difference in their design and layout. I have to go through here and reconfigure all these different settings. And one thing that I should recommend is, if you don't want targeted advertisements, oh, how convenient. For some reason this connection is very... no, it must not be the connection. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, I've now connected to my home wireless network, so why isn't this working? There's no way for you to configure your privacy settings? It just doesn't work. Let's see if it works here. Nope. Now, it's wanting to run these applications in the background, and I don't want any of these wasting resources. If I want them running, I'll open them, but they don't need to stay running in the background. Turn this all off. I don't want Office, I don't want Groove, so I have to go and turn all this off. And that's one of the things that I have noticed, is that it does take significant, it does take a sizable chunk of time to configure Windows 10, at least to my liking. Yours may be different from mine, and of course accordingly quicker and simpler, but there are certain aspects of Windows that need to be configurable before meeting my expectations. So that's how we access the About page. You have to go to Settings, and then System, and then About, and that's how you get the new Windows 10 version of your system properties. But if you want the traditional one, just right click this PC and that'll give you this one too. So there's two different versions of the same page. The upgrade utility does maintain whichever version you had previously installed of Windows. So in my case, this was Windows 7 Professional previously, and it's upgraded me to Windows 10 Pro. So I get to take advantage of and configure my computer by using the group policy editor, if and when it decides to open, which will come in handy for certain aspects of Windows I may want to disable or enable on a case-by-case basis. The addition of status information is very useful in your networking settings, which allows you to take a quick glance at everything that happens to be going on with your network connection. Windows, well, this version of Windows 10 doesn't have that. It just goes straight to the Wi-Fi settings. So aside from a status submenu, there's also one for a mobile hotspot, which wasn't present on previous versions. Let me go over there and see what that's all about. You can't set up a mobile hotspot because your PC doesn't have it. Yes, it does. It has a Wi-Fi connection. So why is it... This was what I was dealing with on this laptop. It just kept getting limited or no connectivity at random, and then you'd have to reset the connection. And it doesn't matter, again, whichever wireless network you connect to, it still has these problems. Microsoft sure wants you to sign in with a Microsoft account as opposed to just a simple local account. And I noticed that it was a little confusing and not really that straightforward to create an additional local account on this machine. In fact, I had to go over to Accounts, Family and Other Users, When I click add someone else to this PC, it now wants me to input an email or phone number because it realizes that I'm connected to internet. And this is where I got a bit confused. I didn't want to put in an email or phone number. I don't want a Microsoft account. So I clicked I don't have this person's sign-in info. And then when you click that, it takes you to another page where you can create a Microsoft account for them. And then, and only then, can you click this link, add a user without a Microsoft account, and just get that ability to create a traditional local-only account once more. And that should be the same here, unless Windows 10 has changed that, or at least the anniversary update has. Let's see. Yep, it does the same on the anniversary update. Add a user, there we go. So we can still do that. That's good. I've already run into a snag, a pretty significant snag that I don't think I'll be able to easily fix. If I go into security, I noticed I got a notification area message that told me that virus protection is turned off at 8:12 p.m. And if I go over here to where it says, this wasn't showing before, I don't know if this has any relation to that, but I'm not signed up for the Insider program, so I don't know what that has to do with anything. But if I go to Windows Defender, it just somehow set itself to limited periodic scanning. There's no way for me to enable real-time protection. If I open Windows Defender, it says here that it's handled by another antivirus program. But this is the big problem. If I try to turn it on, it brings me here. It says that it's remaining off because I have another program installed to handle. I can assure you that I have not installed any third-party antivirus programs, and you can even look yourself if you're so inclined. But for some reason it's still reporting that there's another antivirus program. So I don't know what's going on here. So what I decided to do, since my installation of Windows isn't too well established at this point, I can very easily just reinstall what I need to. I went over to Update and Security, Recovery, and tried to reset this PC. And I want to remove everything. It says this won't take long, and then after about a minute or two, it just tells me that that there's an error occurred. So I'll just let this go for a moment, and it'll tell me that this won't take long. And then it'll just say that this computer, there's a problem resetting my PC. And there's no way that I can do that. So, yeah, I don't really know what could be causing those problems, but I think I'm just going to uninstall Windows 10 and just put Windows 8.1 on this machine for now. Or Windows 7. Or even Windows XP. See what I wonder what would happen if I click go back to Windows 7. Let me fill this out. Give me just a moment. Okay, let's try that now. Try installing the latest updates. Well, this computer's already up to date. I'm not going to waste my time doing that. So, thank you for trying Windows 10. If I end up missing improved search security and start to come back to Windows 10, well, I'll downgrade this because I'm a glutton for punishment and I'm interested in seeing if this will even work. And then I'll probably just do a clean install and be on my merry way. Oh, goody. Viruses on Windows 10. I thought Windows Defender was supposed to prevent that. Windows Activation Pro. It's time to enter the product key. Yeah, okay, right. That's not going to work. It's not even allowing me to click into it and input a key. And just as an addendum to this section of the video, wherein I received a counterfeit product key pop-up on Windows 10, just for the sake of experimentation and my own enjoyment and entertainment, why don't we call that phone number right now and see what exactly happens when we do that if my computer doesn't decide to randomly play a 1-second snippet of a video.
The person you are trying to reach. It's on the phone. Leave your message at the tone. Press pound when finished.
Yeah, that sounds totally legitimate. That sounds like Microsoft. Right.